Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining me here on our Body Men Thursday. With that, let's get to honoring God with our body. God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect our ears and help us listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And if this is the first time you are joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, that is something that we try to say daily here on the broadcast to set our hearts and our minds right for the day. So thank you for everybody that's out there joining me on Facebook, X, and on YouTube. And amen to you too, Spud. Thank you so much for joining this morning. Now, with that, let's get to our trending topics on X. First, Senate confirms Dr. Erica Schwartz as the CDC director in a 51-44 vote. Yes, they are still confirming people over a year later. I guess it just takes some time to put your cabinet together, right? So, Dr. Erica Schwartz, a Florida physician and former deputy surgeon general under Trump, won confirmation Wednesday on a most party line 51-44 vote, backed by all present Republicans and Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. She brings decades in public health and vaccine programs, but drew Democratic opposition over her support for mandates and mRNA technology, which she called safe and effective during hearings. So, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy praised her as the most qualified ever for the role, ready to restore trust and advance health initiatives amid CDC challenges like a what? Oh, the cyclospora outbreak. And I want to say the cyclospora, that was the parasitic outbreak in the lettuce that has recently kind of got everybody going, if you know what I mean, going. And so she has been confirmed. And here it says she believes that mRNA technology is safe and effective despite millions of Americans being killed or disabled by it. And I think here's the thing, for scientific purposes, when they're testing it in a lab, not on humans, but in a lab, it looks safe and effective. But until you actually put it in a setting where you're using it on humans, and to this, and to Nicholas's point, when it was used in humans, for some humans, it was not safe and effective at all, and it was very dangerous, right? Because the trials were just not there, and they rushed it, right? mRNA, RNA technology has been used for decades. If you go to the patent office and you look up different vaccines, and you can just even search it by mRNA, you'll see it. But you'll also see something called RNA, right? Not mRNA, but RNA. mRNA is modified RNA. Then you have RNA. So both have been tested for decades. Both have been used in vaccine trials. So again, when you're using things in a lab, it looks effective. But, to the point, we've seen it, and people were injured and harmed. But how many people weren't, and why weren't they? And why don't we actually have really effective testing that shows the difference? And these are things that the CDC is going to have to fix. The government's going to have to fix because, you kind of just put yourself out there and showed us how much we can't trust you. Right. And that's not our fault. I should say that. So here's 9 seconds, I guess, and it shows her with holding all the vaccines, and this is Trump's pick.
I do believe that mRNA.
You're all welcome over afterwards. Yeah.
I do believe that mRNA technology is safe and effective.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I do believe.
Yeah. And that, again, as a scientist in a lab, it might be safe and effective. But your testing on the public shows a little bit different. Right? Okay. And so our next topic, we've got progressive activist William Lawrence wins Michigan's 7th district in the Democratic primary. And then this last one, Coca-Cola personalization tool rejects Jesus as king. Okay. But it allows Allah as king and Satan as king? Really? Really, Coca-Cola? He been showing it. They've shown you who they are. But, when you no longer buy their products and they can no longer be supplemented by the federal government, because see, things changed, right? In July. Yeah. People can no longer buy junk food. So that means they can no longer buy all your Coca-Cola products. Now they can with their physical dollars, but they can no longer on food stamps. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what your numbers look like. But why are we buying Coca-Cola anyway? I mean, this stuff will clean out corrosive battery, corrosiveness in your car battery. I mean, but we put it in our bodies. It's bad. It's bad. So Tommy Robinson and others shared screenshots showing the site's automated filter approving provocative phrases like "I love Satan," even "gay, be." Okay, I'm not even going to say that. While rejecting Christian references, Coca-Cola's guidelines ban all religious content to stay neutral, but testers spotted inconsistencies that sparked accusations of anti-Christian bias. After the test went public, the tool seemed to block more religious phrases, though the company has not responded, and some call for a boycott. Just ban it. Just ban it. We just need to figure out some new products that are going to work for us. I know Coca-Cola. They are based here in Georgia, and I guess they're one of those companies. They hire a lot of people, but to your own peril, right? But let's check this out.
Coca-Cola, I'm going to need an explanation for this. All right, we're going to do this one live because I don't want to see any comments that, oh, this is a conspiracy theory, blah, blah. You can see we're on the Coca-Cola website, URL right there. We're going to scroll down to personalize our Coke can. The first entry we're going to try is Allah is King. No issues with that. You can see it on the Coke can. Next entry we're going to try. No issues with that. Let's even try Satan is King. Zero issues with Satan. Now let's try Jesus is King. Now that's where there's issues. So you can still see the Satan on the Coke can here. Immediately rejects Jesus is King. Gonna need an explanation on this one.
Yeah, see all that little red print down there.
Coca-Cola.
It's basically letting you know that there are certain words that have caused harm and harmful, and all it is an algorithm. That's it. And it's supposed to kick out certain keywords, which means that's what you did, Coca-Cola. You put in certain keywords that you would not allow to be personalized. Let's just say what it is. Like, nobody's dumb at this point. We're not overlooking it. It is what it is. You are who you are. You're Coca-Cola. And we all know it. So now let's move on to all sides and get into some of the other topics and headlines going on in the country. So, Senator Wyden claims banks failed to screen Epstein transactions, and there are questions why CBS never aired the investigation. Interesting. So, in a new report, Senator Wyden alleged several major banks failed to screen hundreds of millions of dollars in suspicious transfers from Jeffrey Epstein and questioned why CBS News never aired an investigation because they were all in on it. Who do you think was paying CBS? Are y'all are just slow. I'm just leave it at that. You're just slow. Okay. So New Mexico sues DOJ Todd Blanche over Epstein investigation. Interesting. So here's on the left, it said investigations into Epstein's mysterious New Mexico ranch add pressure on the Justice Department. Anyway, New Mexico, y'all allowed him to be there. And you weren't mad when you were collecting taxes from all of that homestead that he bought. What are we talking about? Stop that. It's only an issue because you want to make it an issue now. Stop. Go somewhere. Okay. Progressive Abdul El Sayed wins tight Michigan Democratic Senate primary. Okay. So he won a Senate primary, but how will he do in the general? That is the bigger question. Now, this one I found very fascinating. So Trump not happy about oil industry record profits. He's not excited about it. Wasn't he the same person that was like, yeah, oil companies, if you do this and that and the other, I will make sure that you can make a lot of money. So I'm not sure what we're doing here. So the gains. So Saudi, let's see, Aramco, the world's largest oil exporter, reported a 33% jump in profits. Okay. During second quarter, taking in 8.2 billion more than it did last year. So Shell and ExxonMobil doubled their profits from last year to 9.8 billion and 14.5 billion, respectively. BP posted 5.7 billion profit, its best result since 2022. Chevron reported its highest quarterly earnings on a record at 12.1 billion. So Trump told reporters, based on a shortage, they're making too much money. I don't like it. Okay. And I should be the last one to say, because I'm a big free enterprise guy. When we're finished with Iran, you're going to see prices drop through the floor, but they made too much money. He added, when you look at one company where they made 12 times what they made the year before, they ought to give some back to the public. And they better cut the retail price, the consumer price. I'll say it loud and clear. I'm not happy about it. But hey, isn't that what capitalism is all about? Right? Turning a profit. Doesn't matter how you get it, apparently. In some cases, they're not doing anything illegal. Yes. Are they overcharging us? Yes. Do they know they're overcharging us? Yes. Will they continue to overcharge us? Yes. Obviously, they don't care. But we're still not looking into other fuel options to lower the cost. Because see, once they get some competition, that's going to lower the cost. Right now, they don't have any competition. Electricity is not a competition because the electricity actually needs fossil fuels to function. So what are we doing? There isn't another alternative that is actually widespread. And I don't want to hear about ethanol. It's horrible. It smells awful. Okay. And it's not as widespread to compete with the crude oil. Now, could we produce more crude here in the United States? We absolutely could. Should we? Yes. That will lower our dependency. That will lower the prices. That will create a lot more competition as opposed to us importing anything. So if we're going to do that, that's where it really starts. So hopefully we'll get there. Yeah. There's that. Now, I did want to touch on one article and just give an update on the National Defense Authorization Act, because where we left it, you know, it's a very interesting act for fiscal year 2027. And what it does is it establishes the United States Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. So we would actually be working with another world power on our defense. Why aren't we doing that with China or Russia or any other country? Because you're not supposed to. I'm just going to say it flat out. No, it is one thing to be respectful. It's another thing to involve a country who's not a member of the United States, period. You're not. And just allow them to be a part of our national defense. Like, this is insane, but it's happening. So it requires the Secretary of Defense to designate a Pentagon executive agent to coordinate and accelerate bilateral defense technology work with Israel. This covers research, development, testing, evaluation, integration into U.S. systems, industrial cooperation, joint ventures, licensing, co-production, and related activities in areas such as counter unmanned systems, missile and air defense, on and on, as you can see here. So here's the current status. Oh, and by the way, they changed the number. It was 224. It is now 219 for that section. So if you guys look this up, and I'll make sure to leave the link in the repost. So the House passed it on July 22nd under HR 8800, and Tom Massey and Ro Khanna, to strip the provision via amendment, were blocked by the Rules Committee and never received a floor vote. The provision remained in the final House passed bill. The Senate Armed Services Committee approved its version in mid-June, and a cloture vote to begin floor debate failed on July 14th. It needed 60 votes. So further motions to proceed occur later in July, but have not advanced the bill to full consideration. So overall, the bill has not gone to conference, has not been reconciled between the chambers, and has not been sent to the president. The NDAAs are typically finalized later in the year, usually in December. As of the most recent CRS updates in late July 2026, and no final enactment has occurred. Well, that's good. But in my opinion, it needs to be removed, and we never need to have this conversation again. Now, we're going to get into some of the Democratic results, but in my opinion, could the Democrats use this completely against the Republicans going into the midterms? Absolutely. And get destroyed, as you should, because what are you doing? Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this. Nobody told you to do this, but here we are. So hopefully, prayerfully, they will stop this nonsense and remove this. It is ridiculous to involve another world power, and I will call them a world power because they do have a lot of influence. They just do, to be integrated with U.S. national security. No, this is not cool at all. I don't like it. All right. So with that said, let's get into some of the Democratic results that have occurred. Some of these, the primaries across the country. Well, mainly in Michigan. I think those are the ones that we're going to talk about.
The results are still being counted in the biggest test yet for progressive Democrats as Michigan Senate candidates Abdul El Sayed and Hallie Stevens. That race still too close to call. Both candidates already turning their attention to the midterms, though. Listen.
However we might feel about the campaign we've just come through, I want you to understand that it pales in comparison to the cynicism, in comparison to the lies that Mike Rogers and Donald Trump are going to tell.
Republicans are going to do everything they can to throw all the dirt, all the mud, the kitchen sink at us because they want to keep the U.S. Senate red.
Also yet to be called is progressive candidate Donovan McKinney's race against Sri Thanadar for Michigan's 13th district. But in a major win for progressives, Sunrise Movement co-founder William Lawrence defeating Bridget Brink in the primary for Michigan's 7th district. It's on your screen. And look at this, DSA member Cori Bush. Don't call it a comeback because it clearly is not. She lost her comeback bid against incumbent Wesley Bell. To react to these results, founding partner of South and Hill Strategies, Colin Reed, joins me now. Colin, let's focus on the two in Michigan that are still too close to call, the El Sayed Stevens race and the McKinney Thanadar race. What does that closeness say to you about the state of not just Michigan, but the state of our country?
Couple things, Todd. One, tough night for the public pollsters. So much for those polls that had El Sayed up by double digits going down the home stretch. They'll have to answer for that as the cookie begins to crumble. Two, this socialist movement, it's no longer relegated to deep blue parts of New York City or mayoral races in New York City or Washington, D.C., but it's everywhere. It's in the heartbeat of America. And no matter how this cookie crumbles, El Sayed and his supporters are going to have momentum to take, whether they're the nominee or not, into November and beyond. And that's going to influence how this entire midterm election is shaped, because socialism, democratic socialism, does not believe in the goodness of America. It does not believe in all the greatness we've established over these past years. And that's worth remembering, not just now and this summer when we celebrate America's 250th birthday, but also next month when we mark a far more somber moment, and that's the 25th anniversary of 9/11 and the terrorist attacks on our nation.
How should Republican Senate candidate Mike Rogers feel this morning, waking up and seeing these results?
Well, he should take nothing for granted. Michigan has not elected a Republican senator since 1994. That's a really long time. And yes, it's a quintessential blue state, battleground state. Yes, it's a state that went for Donald Trump 2 times. But it's really hard to stop these momentum candidates. These late primaries, Todd, they go one of 2 ways. One, the winner comes out of it so bloody and battered and out of money, they're just out of gas. Or 2, they come out with the wind at their back and they have momentum, they can't be stopped. Mike Rogers, he didn't have a primary. He's been chilling in the bullpen. He's been cooling his jets. But now he's got to get ready for the game time, and it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch.
I'm real curious about the results of Michigan 7. This, of course, was the one that William Lawrence won after really splitting the 2 moderate candidates' votes. So the question for me is, will those moderates end up voting for the far left progressive? Will they end up sitting it out, or will they end up voting for the Republican? Again, I know we're focused on Michigan today, but I'm really curious about this pattern, what you think happens with races like this, or something like this happens across our country.
Well, you know what's really interesting about Michigan specifically, Todd, is it's an open primary. So that means Republicans could have pulled a Democratic primary candidate if they didn't feel as though the candidates they were running the Democratic side were so extreme. And maybe that happened on this race. Maybe it didn't. We'll find out in the coming hours. But the other thing is, in these open races, in these battleground seats, in these midterm elections, the cookie can crumble in strange ways. So every candidate needs to run like they're 10 points down, regardless of the district, regardless of the political makeup, because it's turbulent times out there, and every candidate needs to run accordingly.
Quickly, before we let you go, the Cori Bush loss. Why hasn't the far left really been able to win over the black voter, whereas the far left really has been able to win over the very wealthy white liberal voter, usually a woman?
Well, if you look at some of these socialist rallies, they happen to be largely, predominantly upper-class, well-educated white people. It's not the people of color who make up the Democratic primary base. But Cori Bush, I mean, she was ousted 2 years ago because her campaign was so marred in scandal. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that one, because she only ran 2 years ago and she was thrown out then. So I don't think she made a really compelling case for voters as to why she should come back.
Great insight on all these races this morning. Colin Reed, thank you.
And I always find it fascinating how they come back to the black vote and white educated women and all this other stuff. I'm like, you're hilarious, because there are black educated voters. And the reason why they're not coming out is because they're not falling for the nonsense anymore. Because we actually realize you haven't been giving us anything for our vote. And why should we show up for you? You're not showing up for us. Like, what are we doing here? This has to be a mutual exchange, and it's not. And black voters are realizing it. That's why you don't see them. But you're not going to say that quiet part out loud, but I will. It's okay. So Spud says, why does everyone get that Southern Baptist preacher drawl when speaking at podiums during election season now? Because they know that tone will help them, right? With people who normally would tune them out. That's why. Why do you start visiting Black churches at the very end of the push of your campaign? Because you don't care about Black voters, but you know you need them to get you over the line, but you don't care. You're not asking Black voters, hey, what do you actually want and need out of this? I'm going to Washington to represent you as well as the other constituents here in the state. What is it that I can do for you? Nobody ever asked that. They just assume, they demand, they talk about all the crazy stuff they're going to think about doing, right? But they never ask. That's okay. Keep missing the boat. But like I was saying before, Republicans, you're destroying yourselves with this unhinged, tethered at the hip attitude with Israel. Knock it off. Nobody likes it. Nobody's in disgust with Israel, right? I pray for the people of Israel. I don't like what their government is doing. I don't like those decisions, but we should not be joined at the hip with another nation the way we are, period. I do not care about your feelings. Knock it off. America first. And that's it. Okay, let's get it done. We have a job to do. Now, I came across this video, and this is kind of an honorable mention, but this is Sunny Houston, and I wanted you guys to hear this before we get into some other videos.
Talking about criminals and immigrants being criminals. And I just want people to understand what the facts are and the stats are, is that undocumented immigrants are much less likely to have committed crimes than American citizens. American citizens commit more crimes than anyone who is undocumented. I also want to make the point that an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal because he or she is undocumented. That is a civil offense. So to call people illegal.
A civil offense is still a crime. It's still a crime, Sonny. I know you're trying to be really smart right now, but let's continue.
Is in and of itself, I think, xenophobic and racist.
And incorrect.
I do. And incorrect. The other thing that I will say is that, to Joy's point, on Sunday, there were 1,179 people arrested. Only 613 of them were considered criminal arrests. That means that the rest appear to be either nonviolent offenders or have not committed any criminal offense at all. And so what we are doing, again, is we have decided as a country to demonize a certain type of immigrant, a certain looking type of immigrant. And those immigrants are either from Central America or Mexico. They are brown. There are a lot of undocumented immigrants here, about 40% of them who come from other countries that aren't brown. But we are not rounding them up. So we are not doing that. So what we are doing, though, is making sure that these other people. My final point is, to your first question, Whoopi, I think this country is a country that lacks empathy unless you have lived it, unless you have a lived experience. And that is very unfortunate. There are people that live life of privilege who don't walk in those steps. And Liz Cheney, for example, is an example of that. In 2020, she was so against same-sex marriage. She opposed it. She voted against it until she realized that it caused a rift because her sister was a lesbian.
Just to make
and
this
she switched
a bit of a
gears.
conversation.
Okay. The part that gets me is the privilege part. And when have you not been privileged, Sonny? See, it's always individuals that are of privilege who try to deflect. Stop that. But I had to play that because this just happened.
TPS has officially ended for hundreds of thousands of Haitians living here in the United States. And now a federal judge is lifting the order blocking President Donald Trump's termination of the temporary protected status of Haitian immigrants. I'm Zakiya Jordan in Springfield, breaking down what this means and what comes next. What you are currently seeing on your screen are the documents detailing the federal court's decision to lift the order against the Trump administration's termination of TPS, which was originally filed back in February. This comes just a week after the TPS expiration date, which, as we have previously covered, has left thousands of Haitian immigrants in the Springfield area facing a state of uncertainty and fear. The Department of Homeland Security sharing an interview clip with Secretary Markwayne Mullen this morning, saying his agents are coming after migrants warrants now.
We are giving them an opportunity to either leave on their own and we'll help you, or we'll arrest you and send you back. Either way, you don't have status inside this country anymore.
This comes as the DHS releases a list of incentives for self-deportations on their website, including deprioritization for detention and removal, financial help, and even safe travel back to Haiti. I reached out to Governor Mike DeWine's office, and they said they have no new information regarding an upcoming immigration and customs enforcement presence. I've also tried to contact the city of Springfield, and they did not get back to me. Last week, Mayor Rob Roux said in a statement at the city commission meeting that while he supports the Haitian community that lives there, the city will abide by the law.
I encourage Congress to enact immigration reforms that secures our borders while creating a clear legal pathway for those who have demonstrated through their actions that they want to work, want to obey the law, pay taxes, and contribute to the United States.
Living here in the United
Yeah, so you guys, you get the gist. You have to go home. Temporary TPS was only for 18 months. These people have been here for 16 years. Not months, years. And what I find appalling is how they listened to people that lied to them and said, hey, we'll protect you. We'll help you. You can just stay here. See, the difference between me and the current DHS secretary, I would have just thrown people in federal prison who are protecting these people being here. That was my modus operandi. I'm like, oh, they live in your state. Oh, they live in your city. And you are just violating federal law. You, the actual representative, you're violating federal law by allowing these people to be here and running cover for them. You're going to prison, period. You've been locked up. Thinking about your life and going, wow, I made bad decisions. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I wouldn't just be after the people that crossed our borders illegally. And TPS, again, it's only for 18 months, not 16 years. So apparently the people that are, fighting for this was the Democratic Party. Why did you lie to these people? Why did you lie to them? Because you did. You lied to them. And you said you would protect them. And you said you would help them, even though you knew you couldn't. Yeah. There's that. Nobody wants to talk about that. Okay, now let's get into this last article. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but just a little bit of it, because we got to end our broadcast. I need to be better. I know I keep going over 30 minutes.
Federal sources telling Fox News ICE made roughly 51,000 immigration arrests in July. So that's more than 1,600 per day. It marks the highest single month of arrests the agency has ever recorded. ICE has been steadily ramping up arrests during President Trump's second term. The White House has reportedly pushed immigration officials to aim for 2,000 arrests a day.
So meanwhile, ICE scoring a major legal win yesterday. Federal judge halting a New York state law that bans agents from wearing face masks. This after the Trump team sued to block the ban, arguing it's an illegal push to regulate the federal government. Brian Yanis on that story, the latest in New York City. Brian, good morning.
Bill, good morning. And it's not just masks. A federal judge has also temporarily blocked New York's law requiring federal agents to wear visible ID badges. Judge May D'Agostino ruling that under the Constitution's Supremacy Clause, New York State cannot control how federal agents do their jobs, meaning at least for now, ICE, FBI, DEA, and Customs and Border Protection officers can wear masks and don't have to wear IDs in New York. In a preliminary ruling, the judge said about an agent's personal decision to wear masks, quote, the individual choices of some federal officers do not open the floodgates to direct state regulation of federal law enforcement operations and policy. The judge refused, however, to block the Termination Act, which bans local counties and cities from cooperating with ICE. The law takes effect August 25th and ends Nassau County's partnership with ICE, including giving ICE a permanent presence at the county jail. Nassau County executive and Republican gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman strongly opposes the Termination Act.
Why is Kathy Hochul doing everything in her power to make it less safe to live in New York State? By cooperating with ICE agents, in my county alone, we removed 2,000 illegal migrants with criminal records.
In a joint statement, Governor Kathy Hochul and Attorney General Letitia James say, quote, local law enforcement should be focused on local matters and New York taxpayers should not have to foot the bill for any collaboration with ICE. As for face masks, Hochul and James say they do not make New York safer and they are reviewing all legal options. This was a preliminary ruling. Bottom line, the judge still has to make a final decision on masks, IDs, and ICE cooperation.
And again, the judge was correct. You can't tell the federal government what to do. You can't. You don't work in that office. Now, if you want to change something about ICE, then you need to get a job there, and you need to change that. That's it. And as far as the 287, yeah, it makes it easier for ICE to come in because the law enforcement is saying, hey, as we find these individuals, we will call you and let you know so you can pick them up. They're here and detained. But what states are not doing, especially states like New York, is they're getting these people and they're like, oh, we know you're not a U.S. citizen, but we're not going to ask you your immigration status, wink, wink, and we're just going to let you back out in the community. In my opinion, that is harboring of illegal aliens, and that is a violation of federal law, Title 8, Section 1324. Okay, and you're also interfering with a federal agent's job, Title 8, Section 111. Stop it. Again, I would be locking people up. Kathy Hochul would be in prison. Letitia James would be in prison for their participation in harboring illegal aliens. Period. The end. Do your job. Get it together, DOJ. To me, it's just a failure. Y'all have had over a year and you're failing at your job. You have the mechanisms to fix this. And I mean expeditiously fix it. But you're not. But that's okay. So with that, I wanted to also share, hopefully this will come out on camera. I don't know, but I got my X card yesterday. So yes, so it is an X bank account similar to Cash App. So guys, check it out. I don't know if anybody else on X has, had that outreach or given that link where you can actually sign up for an X account, but I'm gonna try it out and see how it goes. And I'll give you guys a review of it. But again, thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News for our Mighty Men Thursday. And for our Mighty Men out there, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll be back tomorrow with our Prayer with Friday. So you guys have a great one. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.